The fluorescent lights of St. Mercy Hospital's emergency room flickered overhead as Kate struggled to maintain her composure. Blood soaked through the makeshift bandage on her arm. The result of what she'd told the intake nurse was a kitchen accident. The truth was far more complicated, far more dangerous, and entirely unbelievable. Another one, Dr. Alex Morrison muttered to his colleague, barely lowering his voice as he glanced at Kate's chart. Probably got into a fight and made up some ridiculous story about how it happened. Kate's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. The wound was deep, a clean slice that ran from her elbow to her wrist, the kind that came from advanced energy weapons, not kitchen knives. She could feel the residual heat still pulsing beneath her skin, a sensation these Earth doctors wouldn't recognize even if she explained it to them. Double quotes, Miss Kate. Alex began, his tone dripping with condescension as he approached her bed. I'm going to need you to be honest with me about how this really happened. This looks like what, doctor? Kate interrupted, her green eyes meeting his with an intensity that made him pause. Like you need psychiatric evaluation along with your stitches, he finished. Though his confidence wavered slightly, the other doctors in the ER snickered. To them, Kate was just another unreliable patient, someone wasting their time with fabricated stories. They saw a young woman in civilian clothes. No identification, no insurance. Speaking in technical terms, they didn't understand when she'd tried to explain the nature of her injury. What they didn't see was the faint shimmer of bioluminescent markers beneath her skin, tattoos from another world, invisible to human eyes without the right equipment. They didn't notice the way her pupils contracted in geometric patterns, rather than simple circles when the examination light hit them. And they certainly didn't recognize the significance of the silver chip embedded at the base of her skull, partially hidden by her dark hair. Just clean it and stitch it up. Please, Kate said quietly, resignation in her voice. She'd been through this before, the disbelief, the mockery. It was easier to play along than to reveal the truth. Alex sighed and began preparing the suturing equipment, muttering about difficult patients to the nurse assisting him. As he worked, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about this woman. The wound was too precise, too clean. The edges looked almost cauterized, as if made by something far more advanced than any blade he'd seen. You're lucky this didn't hit any major vessels, he said, more to himself than to Kate. I know, she replied. I dodged left at the last second. Alex paused mid-stitch. You dodged. Kate realized her mistake too late. I meant I turned. When I was cutting, the lie was transparent, and they both knew it. But before Alex could press further, the hospital's power flickered, once, twice. Then the building was bathed in an eerie, blue light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Patients screamed. Nurses ran toward the windows, their faces pale with shock. What the hell is that? Someone shouted. Kate closed her eyes, a mixture of relief and dread washing over her. They'd found her above St. Mercy Hospital. Hovering impossibly in the night sky was a ship that defied every law of physics Alex thought he understood. It was massive, easily the size of 3 city blocks. Its surface a seamless expanse of liquid metal that rippled and shifted in the moonlight. Geometric patterns of light pulsed across its hull in sequences that hurt to look at directly. The ER descended into chaos. Doctors and nurses abandoned their posts, running for exits, calling loved ones, or simply standing frozen in terror. But Alex found himself unable to move, his eyes locked on Kate, who sat calmly on the examination table, her wound half sutured, watching the pandemonium with an expression of weary acceptance. "You knew," he whispered, before Kate could respond. A beam of that same blue light penetrated the hospital's roof, passing through concrete and steel as if they were water, and enveloped her completely. Alex stumbled backward, his medical training useless in the face of this impossible situation. A voice filled the ER, not heard but felt, vibrating through bone and tissue. "Commander Kate Voss, your presence is required. The fleet awaits your orders." "Commander?" Alex repeated, his voice barely audible over the humming of alien technology. The mocking smirks of his colleagues had vanished, replaced by expressions of pure terror. The delusional patient they'd dismissed was being addressed with military formality by beings who possessed technology that made humanity's greatest achievements look like stone tools. Kate stood, pulling her arm free from Alex's frozen grip. The wound on her arm was already beginning to close. Accelerated healing protocols activating now that she'd been located by her people. "I tried to tell you it wasn't a kitchen knife," she said softly, a hint of sadness in her voice. She'd liked this planet, had hoped to remain anonymous just a little longer. "What are you?" Alex managed to ask, his worldview crumbling around him. "I'm a field commander for the Interstellar Medical Corps," Kate explained, her posture straightening, her demeanor shifting from vulnerable patient to military officer. "I was wounded during an extraction mission in the outer colonies. I crashed here 3 months ago while trying to reach the nearest Corps outpost, Medical Corps. You're a doctor." Kate smiled slightly. "Among other things, my rank is equivalent to your Surgeon General, though my responsibilities extend across 17 planetary systems." The blue light intensified, and Kate began to rise off the ground, lifted by technology Alex couldn't begin to comprehend. "Wait," he called out, finding his voice. I'm sorry for mocking you, for not listening." Kate paused in her ascent, looking down at the man who had dismissed her so casually just minutes before. She saw genuine remorse in his eyes, and something else, the spark of curiosity that defined the best medical minds, human or otherwise. "You're a good doctor, Alex Morrison," she said. "You just need to remember that the universe is far larger than your textbooks suggest. And sometimes the impossible patient is telling the truth." With that, she disappeared into the beam of light, pulled up toward the ship that hummed with power beyond human understanding. The vessel hung in the sky for another moment, as if surveying the primitive hospital below, before vanishing in a flash of light that left after images burned into the retinas of everyone who witnessed it. Alex stood in the now dark, his hands still trembling, Kate's blood still on his gloves. Around him, his colleagues were slowly recovering from their shock, already beginning to rationalize what they'd seen, to doubt their own memories. But Alex would never forget. He'd never again dismiss a patient's story out of hand, never assume he knew everything, because somewhere out there, among the stars he'd always taken for granted, Kate Voss was commanding fleets and saving lives on a scale he could barely imagine, and he'd called her delusional.